everyone, welcome to English with Min. Today we're going to look at question type 1 on the speaking section of the TOEFL. Task 1 is an independent question like task 2, but the difference is that question type 1 is open-ended. This means that particular options are not given, which gives the speaker a bit more flexibility. It can also be challenging since you may not be sure how to go about preparing a response. As we proceed with today's question, I'll give you 3 tips that may be helpful. The question today is, talk about a purchase that you've made that you're happy with. Describe what you purchased and explain why you are happy about it. As you go through several different examples of question type 1, you'll see that some of the questions ask about an experience you've had, some will ask you to describe something, and others will ask you to provide an explanation for something. Because there are so many possibilities with this particular type of question, it's helpful to consider brainstorming methods for each of these question types. Today's question asks you to talk about a purchase you've made that you're happy with. Then the question goes on to say, describe what you purchased and why you are happy with it. So already the question poses 2 things you must address in your response. A description of what you purchased and why you are happy with it. Some questions you may want to ask yourself as soon as you hear the task are, what have I purchased recently that I think I could describe in detail? And what is something that I could give reasons as to why I don't regret my purchase? Now, let's look at some key vocabulary and expressions first. Number 1, initially. Initially means at first. We use this when something has changed and we want to refer to something at an earlier stage. For example, we could say, initially I thought it was going to rain, but it doesn't seem like it anymore. Number 2, get into the habit of. This basically means that you are building a habit or trying to make something a routine in your life. I've been trying to get into the habit of eating more salads. Number 3, sedentary. This means inactive or to spend a lot of time sitting down. Today, more people live sedentary lifestyles compared to the past. Number 4, splurge. To splurge means to spend money freely or extravagantly. Basically, it means to spend a lot of money. I splurged on a computer that was out of my price range. Number 5, pricey. Pricey is another word for expensive. Repeating the word expensive in your answer or your response can be redundant, so sometimes using the word pricey instead is a good alternative. The watch I bought was pretty pricey. Number 6, add up. This also has to do with money. It means that small costs eventually add up to become a huge financial burden. Parking costs can really add up after a month. Okay, now back to the question. For me, I'm thinking about talking about my bike for this question because it's something that, number 1, I bought for a purpose, and 2, I'm happy with, and 3, there aren't too many technical words involved. Tip number 1, remember, the most important thing for independent tasks is to come up with ideas that you actually have things to say about. The answer doesn't necessarily have to be 100% true. The more important thing is to have a good, solid response. If you don't, you're only going to get stuck and your time is going to be ticking away. If I'm thinking about talking about my bike, it'll be good to give a little background information. Once again, you don't want to run out of things to say before your time is up. Tip number 2, get into the habit of explaining why. Once you build the habit of explaining why you bought something or why you wanted to change your lifestyle, or why it was a good idea to get a bike, you'll have a much fuller response. In my response, I'm going to say that I bought a bike because I wanted to become more active. Why? Because I have an office job and therefore am currently not very active. See? Always ask why. Then I'm going to give 2 reasons why I'm happy with the purchase. Tip number 3. When the question has to do with money or a purchase, which is also related to money, one of your reasons should be about the financial aspect. You can say you bought something for a cheap price, or that the item was worth the price, or that it helped you save money. Your second reason should be about a non-financial factor. How did this item make your life better? This way, you can ensure that there is no overlap between your answers. After putting all this together, my final answer would sound something like this. A purchase I made that I'm happy with is my bicycle. I initially bought my bike because I wanted to get into the habit of being more active. I have an office job, which means that I have a sedentary lifestyle. So I splurged and bought a bike for myself. It was pretty pricey, but I'm happy with it for 2 reasons. First of all, I ride it to work, so I don't have to pay tolls for my car anymore. The tolls can really add up. Second, having a bike has helped me get physically fit, which means that I feel better about myself. The format is super simple. I've described what the item is and why I wanted to buy it in the first place. And second, I've explained why I'm happy with it. We have all of our 6 expressions in there as well. Initially, get into the habit of, sedentary, splurge, pricey, and add up. So now it's your turn. I want you to look at the task again. So let me bring up the question again, which is, talk about a purchase you've made that you are happy with. Describe what you purchased and explain why you are happy with it. So think about the tips that I've given you, and especially tip number 1. Some other, I think, ideas or responses that are sort of that are friendlier and that are easier to give explanations for are items like computers or cell phones or something that we use in our daily life. So I want you to time yourself for 15 seconds to prepare your answer. And then remember, you're speaking for 45 seconds. Get ready and go. And I will see you next time, guys. Bye.